there and grow yourself.
All right. Y'all ready to get started?
Yes. First, I want to thank AJ for driving down here for helping tie this fly.
So,
My pleasure.
Pretty excited about it.
My pleasure. Well, I will tell you this is not an original pattern.
Well, introduce yourself first.
My name is AJ Rosenbom. I'm a member of the New Orleans Fly Fishers Club. I'm also president of the Gulf Coast Council of FFI. And I'm going to do a shameless pitch for us before we get started tying. The Gulf Coast Classic is May 2nd and 3rd in Gulf Shores, Alabama. This will be the third one. We're looking for volunteers from some of the clubs that are in the council. Get you free admission to the two-day event. A lot of great fly tyers are going to be there. A lot of great vendors and sponsors, and just a bunch of great classes and seminars going on. So anybody that's interested, I have volunteer forms. May 2nd and 3rd in Gulf Shores, Alabama.
Turkey season will be closed. Maybe I can make that.
Okay, good. We'd love to have you there. The pattern we're going to tie today is called the Legtastic Critter. It was invented by Nick Davis at 239 Flies. I tie mine a little bit different from his. I tie this fly commercially. I work at No Wake Outfitters down in New Orleans part-time, and we just can't keep them in stock. We sell them like crazy. The one I'm gonna show you guys tonight is the purple color. It really works well in our marshes down here with our dirtier water. Purple's just like, it's like lit up. When the water's real clear, the chartreuse and the tan are good, but man, the purple just catches all the time, you know, and it catches just about anything that swims in the marsh. So we're going to start out. The hook is an Arex SA220. It's a streamer type hook. Really like Arex hooks. They're really strong. I've never had one bend or break on any of my flies. I personally fished. I hadn't heard of any of them doing it either. And they run the full gamut from little bitty tiny size 22s for little dry flies and nymphs all the way up to big 5/6 hooks. All right, so go ahead and place the hook in the vise. Everybody got a material bag. You should have everything you need in there.
What do you recommend this thread?
Either black or purple works. A 6/0 or 140 denier. I use Uni a lot. I like Uni, but there's a lot of good ones out there. Semperfi, Vivas, all the other brands out there are pretty good. So go ahead and lay down a thread base. Start right behind the eye and wrap back to about 1/3 of the way down into the bend. And as we go along, if anyone has any questions, just if my head's down and I don't see you raise your hand or something, just shout out. We can stop. We're not in a rush to get this done. It's a multi-step fly that it takes a little. I'm going to get to. So you kind of see where I brought the thread down to, right about there. So after you get that, and you can kind of spiral wrap it back. It doesn't have to be touching turns the whole way because we're going to put a lot of material on the thing. Bring your thread back up to your hook eye.
and you do that just to kind of measure, or like just to establish where your materials are going to stop, like
Yes.
to go back and back.
Yeah, you're gonna see when as we tie the fly that where we stop, there's a specific reason for that. So thread back up to the hook and then bring it back to about a hook eye length behind the eye. All right, everybody there? Okay, go ahead and grab your dumbbell eye, and this is a small. I like to use a small because I've tied them with mediums if someone's fishing deeper water. But you know, most of where we fish down here, especially when we're sight fishing for reds or drum or sheephead, is within a foot or two of water. So I like the small. It gets it down quick enough, but not too fast. I've even tied them with extra small dumbbell eyes and bead chain as well. My friend Danielle Davidson, that's what Brian lasted me in. She was on the Southeastern Fly podcast couple of months ago, and she was talking about fishing triple tail, and this is the fly that she uses. She likes it in tan and purple for triple tail. I guess, you know, fishing a little bit deeper water, but when she and I first collaborated on doing it, she said tie it with bead chain eyes, but it wouldn't get down fast enough because you're going to see there's a lot of material on this fly. So she said maybe we ought to go up to a small. So that seems to work perfect for her for triple tail, because if you guys have ever fished with triple tail, you know they'll float up by the crab traps or the debris, and they'll see you and they just kind of sink down a little bit and they'll sneak back up. So next trick on tying these dumbbell eyes in, my friend Alan Rupp, who's going to be at the Gulf Coast Classic, I sat in on his Whitlock's Near Enough Crawfish seminar, and he taught me this trick. So what you do is, if you have a pair of needle nose pliers, if not, you can kind of pass these around. Just kind of get this eye right in the middle where the bar is. Let me see if I can get it there right. And just squeeze it a little bit. Flatten it just a little bit. Don't squeeze it too much or you crack it.
You got your needle nose in there?
No big.
Show that on the camera.
I might go out of focus, but you can see I've kind of flattened it a little bit.
These aren't butter.
All right?
So you like that better than a thread bump?
Well, you can use a thread bump, but I do, and I'm going to show you why when we tie it in.
So it
Once you tie this in, it's not going anywhere. It really locks it in.
Alan's got some pretty cool tricks.
What are we trying to do? Just
So what I do when I tie this in, I make about 8 wraps one way over the top, then I cross it over. If you wanted to do X wraps, you could do that, but there's no need to. About 8 the other way. You can kind of play with it a little bit, make sure it's perpendicular to the hook. Then I do 6 helicopter wraps.
Yeah, don't squeeze much.
Helicopter or donut wraps, whatever you want to call it. Everybody good to go? I'll let everybody kind of get done with that, and then we'll move to the next step. So I kind of throw a couple little wraps across it again. And after that eye's locked in, and just kind of feel it a little bit, wiggle it, you know.
Yeah, it does. Can't move it around.
So bring your thread back to the spot where we went down into the bend of the hook, where we stopped going back, and that's where you want to let it hang. How we doing? Good? Everybody looks like they're right there. Okay, you're going to have a pair of hot pink crustacean eyes in your bag. You see those? So what you want to do with those eyes is you want to take a hold of them and line them up to where they're even on the end. Then I use these flat crimping pliers. You can get these on Amazon for about $7, $8. Same thing with the side cutters. So what I do is I go about a 1/4 inch past the eyes with the pliers, and I grab both stems and I crimp it. Okay, and then I just keep sliding back next to one another. I crimp it flat all the way back.
You can do this with a needle nose.
You could do it with a needle nose, yep. So usually, like with these pliers, it's about 7 or 8 crimps at work. But then what I do is once I get them crimped, I go back to where I started. You see right there? And I bend them. I bend them both the same way. So if you look at it, you can see that the eyes are kind of bent at about a 45 or so. You guys see that? I'll bend them back. Okay. So it doesn't matter what side you start on. I usually start on the side nearest me. So right where that bend is where I'm going to start locking it in. And you'll see by crimping that mono stem flat, it makes it lay against the side of the hook. You know, a lot of times if you try to tie a piece of mono in on the hook shank, it wants to roll on you.
One on each side of the hook?
I'm sorry?
One on either side of the hook?
One on either side, but I do one at a time. So wrap it all the way to where the lead eye is. All right? And you can kind of spiral wrap it. And then come back to where you started.
You see the top of it? Okay.
No, well, he wants to wrap it all the way back to the eye.
No,
Wrap it back to where you first tied it in. You see right there? My thread's right there, and it's hanging down. And actually,
All out of focus.
is that out of focus?
I think it's
It's focusing on your shirt.
Is it? I should have worn a plain blue shirt or something.
There she
Okay, so when you get back to the eye, what I do is I'll take my fingernail and kind of prop that eye out. You guys see what I'm doing? You see I have my finger like under it? Then I make 5 or 6 wraps under it. And that creates a little thread dam, and it keeps that eye propped out. When you start fishing it, you know, sometimes you stick it in your fly box and it gets bent and stuff like that. So you see how that eye's sticking out? All right. So now we're going to go to the other side. Same thing. The eye facing the outside. Opposite side of you. You can kind of flip it like this.
I think it's an autofocus.
It is, but let's see if I can switch it to manual.
Okay, so after you do 2 or 3 wraps to kind of get that eye in place, you might have to adjust it a little bit, like back and forth, so the eyes line up exactly perpendicular to one another.
I might have missed the step where you were bringing our mono eyes all the way back right before your dumbbell eyes and we're cutting it off.
Yes.
So you're wrapping all of the mono for the eye down the shank.
Yes. And it doesn't have to be touch and turns. You can just kind of, you know, spiral wrap it. And the same thing with this eye. I kind of prop it up with my fingernail. Make 5 or 6 wraps. So if you look at the eyes, if you've wrapped them right with the thread dam being where it is, if you look at the screen, you can see they kind of both flare out at about 45 degrees. Give everybody a chance to catch up. Here's a sample of the fly if you guys do want to pass it around and take a look at it. Looks pretty sharp on the other screen there. The little trick with crimping the stem of the fly really helps to keep it from twisting on the shank of the hook. Okay, so after we get both eyes tied in, we leave our thread hanging right where we tied the 2 mono crustacean eyes in. You know, the length that you let the eyes stick out is really a personal choice. I don't like them to stick out too far because it doesn't quite look right. But you'll see when we put these other materials in, it'll look, when you look at the sample fly that the guys have on the other table over there, you'll see it kind of naturally sits in there like a real shrimp. In this pattern, it's weird with the profile. It kind of looks like a shrimp, but it kind of looks like a crab too. All right, everybody got the eyes in? All right, in your material bag you had some pink cactus chenille. Get that piece? You're not going to need a whole lot of this.
The pink chenille.
See, it looks like, kind of looks like that. And you can use medium or small. If you don't have cactus chenille, you can use Estaz. Actually, this is Estaz. So what you want to do is right between the eyes, right behind them, you want to lock this in. All right, when you get it tied in, what you want to do is make 2 wraps. 1, 2. Then when you come around the 3rd time, bring it up between the 2 eyes, under and between the 2 eyes. You guys see how I did that?
Do it again.
I made 2 wraps over, and then when I came over the 3rd time, 2 complete wraps, and the 3rd time I come over, I come between the 2 eyes and pull it back, and I'm going to tie it off right there.
The first 2 wraps, you got it behind those 2 eyes?
Yes, and then come over, and then come up and through.
Yeah.
And just tying a lot commercially, I've found that the best way to lock a material in is 3 wraps over and 2 behind. So that's what I did here.
And then you wrap it in the front?
Well, you go once, twice, and then come up between the 2 eyes and pull it back through the eyes and tie it behind the eyes, tie it off behind the eyes. And then clip off any excess that you have.
Or cut off the excess?
Yes.
Is that through the eyes to kind of cover a gap, or just to secure the chenille so it doesn't spin, or both?
Well, what it does is it's also another method of keeping the eyes apart. Yeah, because when you pull them up through there, it does that. Yeah, and that's a hot spot. You know, depending on the one that the color I'm tying. If I tie black, the black has a little red in it. I use a red hot spot. Chartreuse, I use an orange hot spot. Olive, I use an orange hot spot. Most of the time, I use like a fluorescent fire orange, unless I tie an orange fly, then I make a black hot spot. You know.
It wasn't long enough for my fingers.
But it kind of looks like that kind of egg sac you'll see on crabs and shrimp, that color. All right, everybody got it tied in? All right, so you look, there's a little bag in there that has some purple craft fur in there. Usually when I tie these, I'll use Arctic Fox, but I've realized when I started putting the material bags together, I didn't have enough Arctic Fox. So, and I didn't have any at the shop. So you want to get a clump, which is about the size of what you have in there.
That's the stuff that's in the individual bag?
In the individual bag, yep. And that's polar fiber, I believe, which is a type of craft fur. But this is a piece of Arctic fox right here that I have, and they all perform about the same in the water. So I take a piece that's about a clump about yay big. For you guys I'm going to show you guys a great little tool. This is made by Hairline. It's an underfur rake. It's man, this is, if you want to get underfur out of something that you're tying in, you need to get one of these, because you can hold it and do it, but usually what I do is I'll put it down, and if you you just kind of grab it with your thumb and kind of pull it through, it pulls all that underfur out. And save that underfur, it makes great dubbing. So you see, once I got the underfur out, I got a piece about yay big. It doesn't have to be real big. All right, so lay that right on top of the hook, on top of the chenille that we just tied in between the eyes. You see how I'm laying that up there? And we're going to lock that down.
How much you sticking out the back? About a hook shank? Or?
A little bit more, David, about maybe a shank and a half. We can kind of see, and I'm talking just the shank, not hook length, shank. So lash it down to where it's your thread stops like right where you tied your cactus chenille in. And don't worry if the craft fur wants to kind of go squiggly wiggly on you, because when it gets in the water, it's going to all lay out.
Well, remember, this is your first and just 400.
4,000 probably. 8,000.
I bet you I've tied 1,000 of them.
Something.
Besides that, they're great on the curves anyway.
Okay, everybody let me know when you got that tied in.
Oh, I cut them off even with the eye. Done with all eyes.
All right, so we're good to go?
Yep.
You can either, I mean, if you use the right amount, I just usually lash it all the way back. I don't even have to worry about cutting it off on the back. So you kind of lay your base down. Okay, we're gonna take this leg right here. It's the purple with the kind of pink stripes on it. Ready to see that? That's what I'm going to use. So what we do is, you'll see that it's two legs. Don't cut them apart. On the side nearest you, take the two legs that are together and lash them down. So look, when you're tying in silicone and rubber legs, don't crank down on it, because what'll happen is when we cut these things, they're going to want to jump out to the side. So a nice firm wrap when you tie it in, but don't overly cinch it down, because we're going to put so much stuff on top of here, it's not going anywhere.
You're taking it at the midpoint.
No, I take it by the tip.
Oh, by the tip.
I took it by the tip. Tied the tip in on this side. Then I'm going to take the other side, take those tips.
And that's why you didn't want to cut it apart.
Yes, sir. If you cut it apart, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it sure makes it tougher to tie.
It's this one. It's not the one we get the outside. Yeah. Believe it or not, he's right. There's little lines on this one right here.
All right, so if you look at the camera, if you look at the screen, you'll see I've tied them in. I have a big loop.
So you tying them on the side, on opposite sides?
Opposite sides. Yep.
Yes.
And you see, I tie them right up by that piece of craft fur fox that we tie in, that's like the horn on a shrimp.
Never done it that way. I never had to go. I kind of like it.
Look, when you tie commercially, it's like when I go to tie these, like I tie them 20 at a time, and I cut all my materials out first and just have it laid there. That's the only way you can be efficient when you do it. But that was something I just kind of picked up. You know, I said, hey, this might work pretty good because this set of legs is going to be longer than the next set of legs we tie in. So what I do is I take the legs and I kind of grab them in the middle, and I just take my scissors, put them right between them, stretch them just a little, and clip them. 2 on each side. Everybody got those legs tied in?
And you're saying you just pull them straight back and cut them? Or
Yep. I pull them straight. I just take my scissors and stick it between the loop and clip it. It clips right in the middle. All right. So now we're going to get the hot tip pink and purple legs. So we're not going to tie these in the same way because we want the hot tips facing out. We're going to have to kind of make a little loop in the back on that. So what I do is when I go to tie it in, I want them, I guess it's my OCD, I want to make sure that those pink to purple parts kind of line up. You see how I have that there? Because if sometimes with these legs, if you grab them like by the end, they're off a little bit. You see that? So I just kind of line them up back there. All right. So we're going to have a little bit of a loop. You know, and it's all about kind of hitting benchmarks when you tie. It's like, okay, if I want repeatability in a fly, I need to make sure I tie this in here. This is in proportion to here. This is my benchmark for that. So what I like to do is where the pink starts, I like that to be just about even with the eyes. It's not rocket science, but you know, I like it close to there. So when you have that, you'll see you have a loop back there, all right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lash it down,
It stops.
and I'm going to come right back up to that tie-in point.
So they should kind of be on top, but coming out the sides. I mean,
Yeah, what you're going to see, Brian, when we cut it, it's going to want to do the same thing. It's going to kind of kick on top of the other ones. So I usually have there's a spot on my vise that I'll cut these legs. These are going to be shorter than the first set of legs we cut it. We put in. If you look at the sample fly, you'll see that. So just kind of a rule of thumb is these are going to be probably, I don't know, a ½ inch, 3/8, something like that. Like I said, it all depends on what you're looking for. So I got a spot on my vise that I use to mark it. But you can kind of see there they are.
So about the end of where your crapper is.
Yeah, these kind of sit, because remember when the fly's in the water, it's going to be turned the other way because the eyes are going to flip it.
Did you tie this in at the transition between the pink and the purple, or?
No, I tied it in where the pink, it's tied in at the purple, but the pink starts just about above where the plastic eyes are.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So you get that loop of legs back there. Just kind of pull that up, snip it off. That's waste.
Cut off that loop up front too.
Cut that loop off that we have in the back. But you can trim your legs to any length you want. Usually I trim them to where they're kind of not quite to the end of the where the craft fur ends. So you can see I have the horn there, It's a little bit longer. And look, the first legs you tied in, I usually do them long like that, but you can also, like, you can cut them right here if you wanted. And they're still longer than the other ones. A lot of it is your personal preference when you're tying this.
Turns out.
All right, everybody got the legs tied in? All right, you got something that looks like this in there. Not the lighter purple one, the darker purple one. This is Crystal Flash. Now, you know, if you didn't have Crystal Flash and you wanted to use purple hackle on it, you could use a feather on it. I just find that the synthetics hold up a little bit better in the salt water. You know, one or two bites on this fly, if it's got hackle, a redfish is going to tear it up or something like that. But if you use the artificial stuff, Danielle told me that on one fly, she caught 15 redfish. So, and before it started really looking beat up. Okay, so we're gonna have a little piece of this crystal hackle, and we're gonna tie that in right where we tied the legs in. Okay, so if you have hackle pliers, you might want to grab it with that once it's tied in. But what I'll do is I'll take it and I'll kind of stroke it forward, and I'll start wrapping back toward the dumbbell eyes. And just make sure you stroke your materials back toward the bend of the hook as you're wrapping.
So are you kind of palmering it?
Yeah, you kind of palmering it.
Is that this?
So I'll make 4 or 5 wraps, get it to where it's just short of the hook point. And this material is a little stiffer than the next one we tied. The next one is Palmer chenille, and it's a little wispier. You can use Palmer chenille or Sightcast has a material called crack wrap. That's the medium size is what you would use. But you see, what I do with this is when I get it tied in, I kind of grab it all and throw a couple thread wraps on it to kind of make sure it kind of points forward. So you can see, if you look at it, you can see it kind of flares up like that, you know, kind of flares up a little bit. That's good because it's going to kind of act as a ramp for our next material that we put in.
How many wraps did you do on that? 3?
I'm sorry?
You went 5 wraps?
4 or 5.
So, in your version, what's going to be different than
Nick Davis's version?
what Nick was doing?
He is using a marker to mark his stuff up, and I don't believe he used Palmer chenille on it. And Nick used to sell these in the shop, and he doesn't even sell them anymore. I think you can still order the kits from him with everything in it.
Aren't they in like Apalachicola or?
No, they're in Bonita Beach.
Okay.
Forgotten Coast Fly Shop is in Apalachicola. That's Danielle Davidson's shop. She just bought it. So the ones that she sells are the ones I tie for. All right, so once we get that tied in, the next thing you want to grab is you're going to have a piece of this in there. It's Palmer chenille. It's a little bit lighter color and it's a little sparser.
I got my effect back.
So when you tie the Palmer chenille in, bring your thread about halfway to where the gap is between the eyes and where you tied it in.
Say that again?
So after you tie the Palmer chenille in, bring your thread back toward the lead eye, about halfway in between, in that gap, because that's about where we're going to stop this. So we have Palmer chenille, so we're going to palmer it backwards. And as you're wrapping, make sure you stroke the fibers toward the back of the fly. You're probably going to wind up using that whole piece on this part. Try not to put your wraps on top of each other. Just kind of keep moving back. You can see as I wrap it back, I'm pulling it.
Yeah, so what happens?
So you're stopping it where you left the thread?
Just about, yep.
Materials.
Do you tie it off when you get there?
Yes, I do. And like I said, 3 on the top, 2 behind. Flip it off, and then stroke those fibers forward. Lay a couple wraps on there to lock it in.
Yeah, I'm like you, I've kind of run out of hook.
And any excess that you have, go ahead and just snip it off. Man, you guys are looking good, man. It's coming together.
Yeah, you did pretty good on the materials, man. No waste.
Well,
Yeah.
when you tie this many, you know exactly what you need.
It's just pre-measured. It's just, yeah.
All right, so the last material we're going to be tying in is a Puglisi tarantula brush. I love these brushes. They're great. You get these little kind of rubbery legs in them on some EP fiber. So just get the wire end down on the hook shank. Wrap it all the way back. And bring your bobbin right behind your eyes, okay? So we're going to use all of this. Where did I put that? Did I bring? Yep, there it is. I like to use a hackle plier on this if you're using a short piece. So just kind of grab those EP fibers and pull them this way as you start to wrap.
You bringing them forward as you're wrapping it?
I'm palmering it. I'm stroking them to the back, but I'm palmering toward the eyes. All right, so when I get up to the eyes, 3 wraps over that piece of wire, 2 behind it. Then if you have needle nose or side cutters, reach down in there. You can try to helicopter this stuff off, but it's going to take you about 10 minutes. I just reach in with my pliers and clip it. And I take my thumb and I stick it down in there and I bend that wire back toward the bend of the hook. Because if it sticks up, it might nick your thread. Or if it's sticking up once you tie it on, when you get out there and fish, it might wind up cutting your leader. So I'll put a bunch of wraps down on top of it.
And then cut it.
Then pop your thread underneath. Five or 6 turn whip finish. Then you can put some head cement or UV or Sally Hansen's or your favorite nail polish, so long as it's purple. Look, I'll tell you guys, and David knows this, he knows how much I love this stuff because he uses it too. But this UV, by UV Craft, it's the best I've found. It's it dries hard, it's never tacky. They make it in a thick and a thin, and you just hit it with the light. They even have their own torch, it's rechargeable. Hit it on both sides, 5 or 10 seconds. So once your head cement's dry, you can take a little brush or something, and I like to kind of pick that brush back like this. And you can pick that out either with a brush. If you don't have a brush, you can use a bodkin to do it. I like to get those little rubber feelery legs sticking out. So you see the fly, there it is. That's profile from the top. And that is the Legtastic Critter. You guys did great.
Is the contrasting colors important, black and blue?
I'm sorry?
Is the contrasting colors, black and blue, of significance?
Well, on I think more the pink and the purple contrast.
Well, I was going to say this is really a gaudy top to be a shrimp.
Yeah, but the fish eat it.
But
Yeah, the fish eat it.
tail of it.
Yep.
I can say they can
I know for a fact it catches redfish, speckled trout, black drum, sheephead, Spanish mackerel, bluefish, triple tail, and largemouth bass in purple.
Yeah.
Kind of have some of your.
That's not even a camp.
Yep.
Oh, it's okay. Does it cure the resin? Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. I've never heard anybody use a laser. Can you see what it's pointing at? I didn't use UV. Oh, okay, yeah. Great. Yeah, because you don't need like the big beam. Most
Yeah, smart. Well, they're going off, but
Yeah, well,
the last line ought to always say, "Don't start until you're told to."
Yeah, that works.
Appreciate you stepping out. Sure.
It was fun. I enjoyed it, guys.
No, I'm glad I can get it done. I went it home.
Yeah, right. Me too.
So did he trim the, did he trim all the, oh, no, good, it's the long, the long.
I didn't think this piece in purple.
You trimmed the longer legs.
we're supposed to do it. I keep the longer legs specifically long.
I like them.
But you did trim the double leg, the pink one.
Did you see on the side where he said?
Where do you say trim? Right where it came together?
No,
No, that's a good.
No, I just took off the tips. The,
Okay.
and I made sure I trimmed them. They're both to the same size, so I pulled them together and trimmed off those tips.
Every time people jump ahead, they mess it up.
this is great. I mean, sure as shoot. See, when you get older, you forget stuff. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna say, all right,